Hello, welcome to what I hope will be the first episode of my knitting podcast. My name is Stephanie and I'm a pretty new knitter, so it's November now, middle of November, and I started knitting I think back in May this year, so it's been about 6 months, and it was a bit of a slow burn at the beginning, and now more recently I've just kind of really got stuck in. I'm enjoying it so much. I'm, binge watching all the YouTube channels, want to knit everything under the sun. And that's why I'm doing this, really, is just because I want to spend more time kind of in the world, in the community, talking about this thing that I'm now really interested in and passionate about. So the format I think that this video will take is, first of all, I'll talk to you a tiny little bit about my kind of knitting journey, how I started knitting and where I'm at now. From that we'll go naturally into what I've finished so far, which isn't much. And then we'll move on to work in progress, and then acquisitions and kind of knitting plans. I'm hoping that my knitting has definitely picked up a lot, as I said recently, so the amount of time I'm spending knitting and the speed at which I can knit is a lot quicker than it was at the start, so I'm hoping that I can maybe do these episodes monthly and that there'll be plenty of things to show you. And I'm also coming at this from that beginner perspective at the moment, so I hope that if you know loads about knitting, you can be patient with me, and if you don't know much about knitting, I hope that I can kind of pull out some gems of things that I've found really helpful and am finding really helpful this early on. Okay, so let's get stuck in. I have knitted a tiny little bit as a child. I didn't actually make anything. I just used to knit. So my mum knitted, crocheted, sewed a little bit as well. I've been sewing since I was 15, so I'm much more equipped at that than anything else. But I just remember as a kid kind of wanting to copy what she was doing, and so sometimes I would sit next to her on the sofa and she would knit and she would just teach me what to do. But as I say, I don't think I ever made so much as a scarf or anything. I just used to kind of mindlessly sit and knit with her. And that's pretty much it. And then what started the knitting journey process earlier this year was a YouTuber. Not a knitting YouTuber at all, but one that I really enjoy watching very regularly, and she is called Lena Norms. I will link her channel down below, and she really does kind of things about the environment, sustainability, as well as books. She started off doing books, reading things, and I kind of enjoy all of it. But she made a couple of videos about learning to knit, and one of the first things that she ever knit was kind of a bit of a knockoff. It's not actually a knockoff at all, but for this purpose, a bit of a knockoff of the Bar jumper number 16 or 17. I can't actually remember which one it is, but I've wanted that jumper ever since I first saw it. If you don't know Bar, they are a sustainable knitwear company based in Spain, and they make gorgeous knitwear, and it's reasonably priced for the quality, but it's expensive. And I'm not opposed to paying that much money, but once I saw Lena doing it and making her own version of the jumper for almost a third of the price, still not cheaply, I just thought I want to do that. If she can do it, I can do it too. And that's what started me here. I haven't actually made the jumper yet, and we'll get into that. But I started with a really small knitting project to kick me off. I just wanted to see if I enjoyed it, if it was something I felt like I would see through before I shelled out more money on it. And I'm also really interested in the sustainable environmental aspects of making your own clothes. I've been doing a no-buy year this year in 2023, so I basically haven't bought any new clothing for the whole of this year, and we're nearly at the end of it now. There's 6 weeks left. And so the idea of making my own clothes and getting more of an oversight of where my clothing's come from and just feeling that connection, caring about something so much more because I know how much time and effort went into it because I did it myself. I just think it's a really cool aspect of knitting your own clothes or sewing your own clothes, which I will do as well. But that's where I guess I'm coming at this from, that kind of place of slow fashion. And so the first thing I did, if we get into finished objects, the first thing I did was bought a knitting kit from a British company called Lauren Aston Designs. It's a really great website, I think, and resource for a brand new knitter if you want to tackle it in that way and you think, I would love to just buy a kit that has the pattern in it, the needles in it, the wool in it, and she also has videos on her website, so for, you know, every step, like how do I cast on, how do I do a knit stitch, all of that information is on her website in video tutorials. So I found that a really great place to start. And what I did was I bought the cheapest, or one of the cheapest at least, knitting kit that I was vaguely interested in on the website. And that was the mini mohair ruffle collar. So here's the pattern. And I just thought it was cute, and it was only about £25 for the whole deal, and I thought that's a good starting point. So it's made in Lauren Aston's own mohair lace weight yarn, and I made it in the cream colour, and here it is. Looks kind of funny just hanging about there. So it ties together with a little knitted bow, and you can wear it either way, so you can have the bow at the front or you can just have the ruffle, and I just thought it would be cute kind of over a blouse or a summer dress. I actually have never worn it, so I bought it in May, started knitting it in May. I think I finished it in July, and it's just so, for me, it's just so hard to wear. I'm pleased with it. I'm sure there's tons of mistakes and I can pick out some mistakes, but in general, for my first ever attempt, I think it went pretty well. I nearly gave it up a couple of times, and honestly, most of that trauma was all just down to the yarn itself. I think working with a single strand of mohair lace is probably not the best way to start a knitting project. This was advised for confident beginners, I think is what it said, so it wasn't kind of a fresh beginner. But as I said, I had knitted a tiny bit before. I was used to the motion. I had that kind of muscle memory a little bit. And I also make clothes, and I just kind of thought, if I push myself, I can probably start with a confident beginner rather than beginner. But it was tricky. My yarn just got tangled and I got frustrated, and when I made mistakes I didn't know how to fix them, which has been one of the hardest parts of being a beginner knitter. I'll put a picture here as well of me wearing it, and you can see it a little bit more clearly there. I just feel I look a bit like a clown. So if you've got any advice about styling something like this, or whether you just think it's impossible to style, or whether you've made something similar and you just don't know how to wear it, let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. So that was project number 1. And then project number 2, I decided if I completed that project and I was happy with it, which I was, I would buy another kit from Lauren Aston. So I still didn't go on to the jumper. I'd seen a cardigan pattern that looked really nice, looked really easy for a beginner knitter, and I thought that collar was just a very kind of flat, straight pattern. So I thought it would be nice to do something that involves a bit more construction, and that was a cardigan. And it was this one here, the button knit up cardigan from Lauren Aston. Again, I bought the kit with the needles and the wool, and that was just after I finished my collar, so probably August I think I picked up this kit. Getting pins and needles in my foot. Sat on the floor here. Yes, so I picked that up in August. I've not finished it yet. It's kind of easy at this stage. I'm doing pretty well with it, and I think I'll easily, as I said, it's mid to late November now. I think I'll easily have it done before Christmas and possibly sooner, just depending on how much time and effort I decide to put into it. But I'm enjoying it. It's knit in panels, so I'll show you what I have so far. I have this cute little drawstring bag as a bit of a project bag, and it's actually from Lucy and Yak. If you buy their dungarees, they come in these really cute bags, and I just kept this. I didn't know what for, and then when I started knitting I was like, now I know what I kept the bags for. Okay, so I have my finished sections in this bag, and this is the front left panel, I think. Yeah, it's navy, so it might be a bit hard for you to see. There we go. So you can see it's got this kind of, this is the front, it's got the ribbed sort of trim along the edge, and it would sit like this. So I did what I think a decrease is to, it kind of goes straight up and then slants out to the side, and then I have a back panel finished which looks like that, and it's got this little detail at the top here. Oh, that's the back. There we go, let's try that. So it's got some ribbing at the top just to give it a bit of, you know, fun, I think. Or maybe to get it to sit nicely around the back of your neck as well. And it's got a ribbed edge along the bottom. So I've finished those two pieces, and I've nearly finished the front right side. And then I have the two sleeves to knit, which look fairly straightforward, and then I have to put it all together. It maybe looks a little bit small compared to how it looks in the pictures, but I think she went up a size for some of the photos that I liked, and I didn't do that. And also I will block it, and maybe that will just stretch out a little bit. But it is a slouchy oversized cardigan. I don't think it's going to be it can't go too wrong. It's kind of how I feel. And I've made a couple of tiny mistakes in here, I think, but I've gotten a lot better with this project at identifying them and learning how to fix them, and I'm getting more confident unknitting stitches, unpurling stitches, frogging rows. The first couple of times I had to do that, I was just terrified and I was texting my friend, really stressed out, and she said to me, the more you do it, the less stressful you'll find this, and she was completely right. Okay, so that's obviously one work in progress. Oh, I haven't actually shown you the project itself. It came in this cute project bag, so it says 1 stitch at a time, which is nice, and then it's knit on massive 12mm needles, as you can see, which makes it nice and easy. It's a nice chunky yarn, so I do think this is a really good project for beginners. Honestly, a lot better than the mohair one that I chose initially, if for no other reason than the yarn is a lot easier to work with. Okay. Oh, and I've got these little stitch stoppers that I bought from her as well, which have made me much less stressed about my stitches falling off the needle, which was a big concern for me at first. Okay, I have one other work in progress at the moment. So when I bought the ruffle collar, because it wasn't expensive, but because I bought the kit and I had to pay for the needles and the pattern and the wool and the shipping, I decided to just throw in another skein of the mohair, or ball of the mohair. I'm a bit confused about the different shapes at this stage. It's quite round. So I decided to throw in another skein in a different colour, and I thought if the first one goes horribly wrong, I can use it for a second attempt. If I'm enjoying it and I just want more practice, I can just make it again, because it only took one the first time. I'll just make it again in the other colour. It just felt like quite an economical way of getting more knitting practice in. And then when I came to it recently, I thought, oh, I kind of feel like starting something else, and she has this other pattern. I promise not everything is Lauren Aston, but that's where I've started and I recommend it. Yeah, she has another pattern called the Barnet Beanie, which is a mohair beanie. Very simple, very beginner friendly, with a ribbed cuff that you can leave down so it's slouchy, or fold it up so it's a bit tighter on the head, which is how I think I'll wear it. So I made a start on that pretty recently, and here it is in this really lovely fuchsia colour. I think it's called fuchsia on the website, but isn't that stunning? I've definitely made some mistakes in this one as well. I've got this big bit of thread hanging at the back here in this section, and I just don't know where it's coming from. But overall, it's not too bad. I showed my auntie, who's been knitting all her life, and she said that my stitches were neat, so that was really nice to hear. Yeah, and the wool looks like this. It's using 2 strands from the same ball or skein, so I found that really difficult because this mohair just wants to tangle and snag and catch on itself all the time, and it builds up little bits of fluff that kind of stick multiple threads, strands of yarn together. Honestly, I've just found it a bit stressful, and I don't know if I tried another brand like Knitting for Olive or something that everyone raves about, I don't know if I would have an easier time if I tried another mohair, or if it's just because I am new and struggling. But I'm getting there, and it's just a case of knitting this as to a certain length, and then starting to decrease, and then you just seam it up. So again, this isn't really a priority for me. This is just quite a nice project where I can just sit and knit a row and purl a row and not worry about it too much, and every now and then I just get out the tape measure and see how far I've gotten. So if it wasn't mohair, it would be incredibly easy and I could just sit there and watch telly and not even worry about it. But because it's the 2 strands of mohair and I'm finding it a bit fiddly, I do have to concentrate a little bit. But I can have some TV on with this one. And this little project bag came with the ruffle collar and says Pearl Power on the front, which is cute, I think. Okay. So they are my whips so far, and then I have a couple of other things that I would like to start soon. I'm hoping that the cardigan will be done really soon. So this is my sort of November episode. I'm hoping I'll be able to film again in December and that cardigan will be done and I can show you the end result, and I will have started 1 or 2 new projects. So it was my birthday this week. We're at the end of the week now, but my birthday was at the beginning of the week. And I got a knitting related gift, just the one I think. But it was a good one. And I also took myself out shopping. My partner was at work. It was a Monday, so I just thought what I would like to do is go to some knitting shops in the city. Knitting shops don't open on Mondays, but I managed to find one. And so I bought myself a couple of things as well. So we'll kind of smush together acquisitions and planned projects in one. And we'll start with the gift that I got, I think. So my partner very kindly bought me the knitting kit that I wanted that started the whole thing, which was the switch sweater from Wool and the Gang. Here is the kit. We've got the pattern in here, the wool in the colour bronzed olive. So this is what I went for. This is their Little Crazy Sexy Wool, which is quite a chunky one, but I think not as chunky as their Crazy Sexy Wool. And in the shade Bronzed Olive, as I said, and it suggests 8mm needles, which is what I have for the project. And it came with, you need 2 sets of needles for this particular project. It came with one, but they were out of stock with the other one, which seems to be a running thing. Every time I've looked at the Wool and the Gang website in the last 6 months, the recommended needles have been out of stock, so I don't really know what the deal is there. But I got the ones that came with the kit, and then I went out and bought on Monday the other set that I need with the kit. So this is one of my new priorities. Let me show you what the actual sweater looks like. I'll maybe put a picture in of their photo of how it's supposed to look. And this is the pattern, so that's the kind of shape that we're looking for. And as I said earlier, I wanted to knit this because I really wanted the bar jumper, which is quite different, and the more I've learnt about knitting, the more I've realised I can see the differences between the 2 jumpers, and they're kind of not that similar at all. So I'm going to make a few very minor, easy modifications to the pattern to turn it more into the jumper that I actually wanted. So I'm going to extend the bottom. I'm just going to lengthen it because the bar jumper, I'll put a picture here. The bar jumper is really oversized in style. It's really big and slouchy with sort of balloon sleeves and a high neck. And this is kind of just a much more toned down version, I would say. So I've bought 2 extra skeins of wool, and I'm going to extend the ribbed collar so it sits nice and high and it's a little bit more dramatic and exaggerated. I'm going to extend the ribbed cuffs as well, so they're much longer on the bar jumper than they are on this pattern. So I'm hoping the rib cuffs will maybe come to about here once I'm finished, and I'm not going to take any rows out of the knitted part of the stockinette part of the arm, so I'm hoping that will give more of that ballooned effect, because it does have a ballooned finish a balloon shape to the bottom of the sleeves. So I think with extending that ribbing up, it will just kind of hang over a little bit more. And then I'm just going to extend the body and the ribbing at the bottom just so it sits a bit lower. I think on the models it tends to sit around the hips. I am quite short, very short in the body, so it's already going to sit quite low on me. I'm debating which size to knit at the moment because I have really wide hips, and even though it's an oversized jumper, if I'm extending the length, I don't know whether to go up an extra size so that it hangs loosely around my hips. I'm not really sure how it's going to sit otherwise. So I will get started on this soon once the cardigan is done. This will be my, I guess, sort of December, January project. I'm hoping to still have it done in mid-winter so that I can actually enjoy wearing a big warm cozy jumper. I don't want to finish it in the spring and then think it's too hot, I'll wear this in a year's time. There's one more project to share with you that I'm planning at the moment. So when I went out shopping on Monday, I went to Knit with Attitude. Knitting with Attitude? Knit with Attitude. Good question. Which was the only knitting shop open in London on a Monday or even a Tuesday, I think. Actually, my Ivory Room also opens throughout the week. However, they were closed for a week because the owner was away. So I actually went to them the week before and spoke to the owner, which is how I knew they were shut for all of last week. And I was looking at a few different things. I had a few projects in mind, or a couple of projects in mind, a couple of lines of wool or yarn that I wanted to look at, and I wasn't quite sure when I got there what I actually wanted. And in the end, what I really wanted for that excitement was a hand-dyed yarn. I just wanted something with a really nice, exciting pattern or colour scheme to it, lots of different colours. It was my birthday and I just wanted a treat that was exciting, but I don't want to just buy wool for the sake of it. So I ended up going for this single hank of Twisted Ambitions yarn in Edge of Glory. So this is a sock yarn. It's 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's a 4-ply, 100 grams. And my intention with this, I just think the colours are fantastic. Just this is kind of an overall golden mustard sort of shade, and it's got teal in here, it's got beautiful kind of rust colours in here, it's got almost like a sage green in here, it's very earthy. My intention with this is to knit my favourite things knitwear's camisole number 2. I'll put a picture. And I'm going to Costa Rica at the very end of January, and it's going to be 26, 27 degrees, dry, very different to how it is here in the UK. And part of me really wants to get this little camisole top done in time for the holiday. I just think it would be really fun to wear something I'd knit myself on holiday. I don't know whether that's too ambitious for me. I haven't bought the pattern yet, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get on with it, or how complex it is. I've heard people sort of say it's quite easy, but will it be easy to me as a beginner knitter? I don't really know. I also need to learn how to turn this into a cake, essentially. I've not done that before, so that will be fun. I'm looking forward to swatching it as well to see how these colours actually look in rib stitch, which is what the pattern is mostly knit in. But yeah, I'm basically struggling to prioritise between this and the jumper. I kind of want to knit both and I kind of want to get them both done, and I just, with my current skill level, I don't know how realistic that is. Let me know what you think if you'd like. If you think I should prioritise the camisole, knit that first, knit the jumper first, knit them both simultaneously. What would you do if you were me? What's the way to go? So that is all the really exciting stuff. I bought a few extra things. I went to John Lewis to pick up the extra wool and the gang wool. I went to my ivory room, as I said, the week before, and I got a little tiny set of C knits interchangeable needles to knit a collar, which I'm not going to knit for ages or for a while, a few months, because it's just too complicated for me. But I actually bought the pattern years ago in Iceland before I could knit really at all. So it's something that I'm kind of building my skills with other projects, and eventually when I feel more confident I will come to that project and tackle it, and I think it'll be really satisfying to knit something that I've had sat around the house for like 4 or 5 years thinking, I'm sure I can do that, I'm sure I can learn. Someday I'll just figure it out. But I am finding the more I learn, the kind of further along the pattern I can get when I'm reading it and fully understand what it is I need to do. So we'll come to that maybe in a few months' time. Okay, great. I think that's all the exciting stuff, I believe. I hope this was interesting to someone. Thank you for watching if you did stick through to the end of this video with me. And as I said, I'm going to, I think, try to do this monthly. I'm hoping that I will have more exciting things to show you as I really get stuck in over the next few months and spend a bit more time knitting than I did the first few months that I was learning. I'm on Ravelry just going absolutely crazy, saving every single knitting pattern that I can find because I want to knit everything. And next year I won't be doing my Novi year, so it means that hopefully once we kind of get settled into the year I can start allocating a little bit of money each month into knitting projects, which will be really fun. I hope you enjoyed this. As I say, I hope if you're a beginner, maybe some of the things I find helpful I can share with you and you will find them helpful too. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, I hope. Take care. Bye bye.